Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to the next episode of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. This is episode 157. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know there's lots of choices out there, and I sincerely appreciate you making me one of them. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would love you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me. That would be so cool, because I'd love to learn a little bit more about who's listening to my podcast. And before we get into it, all the show notes for this podcast can be found at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/157. Okay, so today we are going to talk about 10 essential tips for digital success. Now, many of these tips you will have heard from me at some time or another, or maybe lots of times if you've been a long time listener. There is really nothing new here, but these are kind of like little gentle reminders of things that we need to be doing and thinking of as business owners. The things you hear, is very different to the things you put on the one-day list. So, maybe you've heard these things before, but you've put it on the I'll get round to it list. I'll get round to it, Jen list. And frankly, some of those things never make it to the top of the list, and I know because I am the queen of lists. So take all these tips as your nudge to get them done, to tweak them, to look at the data from them, and keep doing. If you're doing an amazing job, keep doing that amazing job, whichever one fits for you. But I suspect just giving you a really good nudge on some of these things will be probably your most popular answer. So radio, let's get into it. 10 essential tips for digital success. So the first one is know who your who is. See, I told you will have heard them before. But in all seriousness, if you don't know who you're targeting with your digital media, whether paid or unpaid, then you are going to either get skewed results, no results, or results you don't want. Perhaps the results that you don't want is the wrong type of client or customer that you're attracting. So do some work on your ideal client. If it's something you've done before, then do it again, because honestly, the person that you were marketing to, pre-pandemic is not the same person you are marketing to right now. We have all changed, and it can either be a good change or a bad change. You might be just using the wrong message or using the wrong language to attract the same person now. So I'd really encourage you to do some work on it. It will pay off. I 100% guarantee it. Number 2, know what you want to be famous for. Again, the you that owned and ran a business in 2019 is probably not the same person who's running it now. I feel like that. So many of my clients feel like that. Just like your ideal client has probably changed, you have too, which kind of makes sense because you are somebody else's ideal client. So take some time to look at what you really want out of your business, what you really want it to look like, who you really want as your customers or your clients, and what you want to be top of mind famous for. Maybe you've been selling one-to-one services and don't want to do that anymore. Or maybe you have been making brilliant candles and selling them, but now your new passion is all about cushions and you want to sell cushions now. And it's okay to change your business model, but you need to give yourself that room to think about, what do you really want? What do you want to be famous for in your expertise in your line of business. And you have to be honest with yourself and don't do the definition of insanity, which of course is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And of course that saying goes for number one as well, knowing who your ideal client is. If you are finding that your business is slipping or changing, then these are the two things, and number three, which I'll get to in the moment, that you probably need to work on again, because the world is a different place. So number three is be where your audience is. So where's your audience hanging out these days? And unfortunately, it's not as easy as it used to be by saying a platform like Instagram, because now my next question to you would be, well, where on Instagram? Are they watching stories? Are they scrolling the feed and interacting with businesses there? Are they watching long form videos on IGTV, or are they totally addicted to Reels? Because wherever they are, that's where you need to be if you want to market your products and services to them. Or maybe they've gone back to community. Maybe they're hanging out in Facebook groups in droves that maybe they weren't doing a few months ago or a few years ago. This is where they can hang out with like-minded people and get cheered on or get their social time in there. Or the alternative is, of course, that they've left social media altogether or are rarely showing up anymore. What's the business strategy for you there? How will you reach them? What's your email strategy? What's your offline strategy? If you do the work in number one, of course, know who your who is, then you will get the answers there to these questions of where your audience is hanging out and where you need to be prioritizing yourself. I'm not just trying to fill your plate with more work. I promise you, this stuff is crucial. And I think we have this thing at the end of the year where we reassess our businesses, or I know I do, and a lot of my friends and ideal clients do. And these are some of the things that we need to be working on. All right, number 4, own your own website address and have a website. Honestly, I'm still a little staggered at the amount of people that I come across that don't have websites that I think should. So I'm going to qualify that there. There are other people who perhaps don't need whiz-bang websites. But if you're in e-commerce, whether you have a Google My Business page or you've invested thousands into your website, the choice is yours, but you still need one. For e-commerce stores, when you have marketplaces like spendwithus.com.au offering you a free website with traffic already coming to the marketplace, you're a little bit mad not to embrace it. But Australia Post very interestingly said on a Mamamia podcast just the other day that I was listening to, I think it was called The Quickie, which is their daily news broadcast. Great podcast if you are interested in that sort of podcast. And they had a lady on there from Australia Post, and she was saying that Australian shoppers have made up 5 to 10 years of online shopping ground compared to the rest of the world, which basically meant that Australia was 5 to 10 years behind the rest of the world, or behind countries like the US and the UK when it come to online shopping. But not anymore. We're up there now as one of the biggest online shopping countries there is. And I think our shopping habits have changed forever. Do I think that bricks and mortar are going to die? No, absolutely not. But is online shopping complementary to a brilliant bricks and mortar? Yeah, I think so. Therefore, if you are online as an e-commerce business and you want to grow that part of the business, then this is where you need to be concentrating, by having your own website. But even if you don't sell products or you don't want to sell online, then you still need your own domain and some sort of web presence. Of course, in the words of the great Kate Toon, who is the SEO queen here in Australia, her famous line that she said on my podcast quite some episodes ago, I think it was in the 30s when she came on my podcast, it was like, if you're not on Google, are you even a business? And I think we need to take that literally. Again, whether or not you spend thousands on a website or you have a really great Google My Business page, up to you, but you need to be on Google. Number 5, have a business email address. This is a gripe that I have, and I know that maybe some of my listeners, hopefully not you, are going to be a little bit cranky about this one. But if you're in business and you're still working under emails that are at Gmail or at Big Pond or at Live or whatever, then you're saying something about your business. You know, remember how I always say marketing is everything, because everything you do and say is saying something about your business, whether you meant it or not. Having an email address that's at Gmail, at Big Pond, that's saying something about your brand. And is it the right thing that you want it to say? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But my request is that you stop doing it. Please invest the $23 a year it will take to get a professional email address and show up as a professional. Show up as you want your business and your brand to be seen there online. All right, I won't go into that anymore. It's a bit of a sore point on both sides of the coin. Anyway, number 6, build your own database of customers and clients. And if you haven't started, start today. If you haven't got an email database already, then really ask yourself the question, social media disappeared tomorrow. Will you still have a business? I think everyone's business would definitely take a hit if social media disappeared tomorrow, but some would go under immediately, like overnight. And in fact, I think many would actually go under overnight. So don't be that business. Build your database and nurture it. Have a great email database that is full of people who know, like, and trust you and will one day become your biggest fans and buy from you. Number 7 is own your own Google My Business page. I know I mentioned that just briefly in number 4, but if you're a local business, you need Google My Business. Or even if you're not a local business, you still need it. It will help your Google traffic, your ranking, your search results from other people searching, of course, in ways that you'll probably never understand and in ways that you'll probably never know. And if you do have one, firstly, let's go and check that to make sure it's up to date. Post photos and post on it as often as you can. Think of it as another social media platform. And remember, as we come into Christmas and holiday and New Year period, that or just even the summer period, we need to make sure we're updating our business hours, because that's when our business hours tend to change. Like, for some of us, we'll be winding down, so we'll be closed. Other people will be winding up and extending their hours of business. So just make sure that all of that is updated on your Google My Business page. And I guess side note, make sure they're updated on your, especially on Facebook, that allows you to put your business hours in there. Make sure it's updated there as well. Number 8, we're getting there. Set measurable goals and measure them. It's like magic, isn't it? There's 3 types of people in this world when it comes to goals. There's those who set them and never look at them again. There's those who set them, keep them front and center, and use them to make strategic decisions and measure their success or measure the lessons against the goals they've set. And there's those who sadly never set a goal. Which one are you? If you set goals at the start of the year, get them out. Have a look at them. How are you tracking? Are they even still relevant? And before you set new ones, please take time to measure the lessons and success of the past ones that you set. This is how you can make a big difference in the world, in the community, in your life, is by actually setting goals and measuring your goals. As to, we never fail. It's just we were either taught a lesson or it's not relevant anymore, or of course we've had success. Number 9, embrace digital tech and what's new. And then when you have to, ask for help. Digital marketing and digital platforms and digital strategies are changing all the time. When a social media platform brings out a bright, shiny object, jump on board, learn it, give it a go. It might not be right for you or right for your audience or right for your branding, but until you try it, you won't know the answers to either of those questions. And of course, never be afraid to ask for help. Even if help is just watching a YouTube video of someone who's 2 steps ahead of you, or asking another business friend or another friend how something works or how to do something. The more we ignore digital tech, especially digital marketing, the harder it seems to be to get ahead. So embrace it. And frankly, I don't really see that we have a choice. So make sure you are embracing digital tech in your business. Use data to drive decisions. A little like goal setting, having data from digital marketing such as Google Analytics, email stats, insights on Facebook and Instagram will mean absolutely nothing to you if you never look at them or use them to make strategic decisions. An example that I constantly see is the shift from concentrating so much on Instagram, only to find out that most of your traffic to your website where you make all your sales actually comes from Google. Imagine if you created and implemented a Google strategy and put that energy into a Google strategy and not so much on Instagram, that virtually didn't bring you any traffic at all. Imagine if you concentrated on where your traffic comes from and just honed in on that, niched a little bit more. Not saying you would give up Instagram altogether, but you would change the strategy, you would change your mindset and maybe implement some other tactics, some other digital tactics. You can't make a decision without hard data. You wouldn't make a decision to stop concentrating on Instagram if you didn't have the data to back it up. It would seem counterintuitive until it's just not counterintuitive anymore because you've got the hard data. If you want to grow your business, get your hands on as much digital data as you can and analyze it to help you make data-driven decisions. Of course, all decisions are test and measure. Nothing is concrete. Things change so quickly. So if you make a data-driven decision, make sure you check back on that data to see if it's working or if it's not. If not, why not? And if so, what else could you do to make it even better? So there you go. 10 essential tips for digital success. Let's go over them just one more time. Number 1, know who your who is. Number 2, know what you want to be famous for. Number 3, be where your audience is. Number 4, own your own website and have a website. Number 5, have a business email address. Number 6, build your own database. Start today. Number 7, have a Google My Business account. Number 8, set measurable goals and measure them. Number 9, embrace digital tech and ask for help. And number 10, use data to drive decisions in your business. Which one sounds like something you need to put a little bit more energy into? Which one is the one that I can give you the biggest nudge on? I'd love you to let me know. Come into the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group and tell me what this podcast episode brought up for you. Which one do you need the biggest nudge on? Or have you had a bit of a mindset shift by listening to this episode around your whole digital marketing? I'd love to know what you thought. Or, of course, you can book a discovery call with me and we can go into it even further and brainstorm some ideas for you. You can book that call by going to socialmediamarketing.com.au and there on the front page we'll have book a call. So just go there and do it. But my gorgeous listener, that is it for episode 157. If you're enjoying this podcast and you've listened this far, so hopefully you have, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and maybe share with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind, who would really appreciate someone making their business life even simpler as well. Feel free to go and leave me a rating and a review wherever you are listening to this podcast, because massive love would come your way if you do. And talking about goals, I have a little goal of a number I want to hit for downloads for 2021 for this podcast. So even more than normal, I would super love you to share this with another small business owner and help me reach that goal. I'll talk about my goals in a later episode, but I would so appreciate you just sharing it with one more business owner to really not only change their world by making their business life simpler, but also as a little favor to me. So, I would love that. Otherwise, I will see you next week on the podcast for episode 158. But in the meantime, let's hang out on social and get social on social. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.